Hi, everybody. So today Kelley is back and we're going to talk about the new moon in Aquarius and the energies that are coming in and dragons. So tell us about this new moon, Kelley. What do you think?
Yeah, new moon in Aquarius. Um, well, it's got a pretty dynamic planetary pattern to it, but it's also the moon every year. The new moon in Aquarius marks the Chinese New Year. And yep, dragons are coming in because this is the year of the dragon. There are 12 animals. It's like 12 signs of the zodiac, sort of. And so this is the year of the dragon, and it's the green earth dragon. People probably know something about this. You may know what animal is your animal, but if you're born in January of a year, it's the former year that you're the animal of, because the new year starts on the new moon in Aquarius. So the sun has to go into Aquarius and then there has to be a new moon. So it's a different time every year,
Yeah,
pretty much. So
yeah,
that's part of this. And it's celebratory, it's very celebratory. And the dragon is a powerful energy. We're going to ride the dragon all year.
yes, we are.
Yeah. And you've been talking about dragons for a while, and this would be a year that they might like appear. So
We
yeah,
may
we're all
see something incarnate, maybe. Yeah.
especially that it's an earth dragon.
Hmm.
They're these petrified rocks that look like dragons, right? Who knows?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I went by a whole dragon family when I went to Tucson. And it was like you could see all the spikes, you could see, and they were petrified, obviously, mountains, and they were all lined up one after the other, like they were sleeping and frozen in time.
Wow.
So it was very intense, actually, because it felt sad to me. But then I could also, like, we're starting to see more stuff. Even if we don't see it with our eyes, we're starting to see it with our, like our knowing. And I knew
Mm.
that there were crystal cities that I was passing. I went to go on one of the off ramps because I wanted to get gas. And I actually, like, you can use Google, you can say into the microphone, gas stations or whatever. And there were like two or three gas stations supposedly at this place. I get off the ramp, nothing, total blank. The word, the name of the town was there. And then when I got off, it was all old buildings from like the 1800s and a camper. So it was probably like the
Oh.
size of a city block.
Hmm.
And I was
Was it
like,
like a ghost
yeah,
town? Was it
yeah,
like a
like a
ghost
ghost
town?
town. There was nobody there. And all the buildings were ancient, something that would have been built
Mm.
like in the gold rush or something. So I was like,
Ah.
okay, guess I'm not getting gas here. It must have flipped a timeline or something happened. So that was
Oh,
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah, but it was a great trip. So,
One of my favorite books is by Patricia McKillop, who's kind of a fantasy writer
mhm.
and is very deep. And she has one about traveling on timelines and going to a world where there are dragons or rumors of dragons in this desert. And this woman ends up there and starts seeing, you know,
Yeah.
the castles. And at the end of the book, the dragons come alive. They lift out of the mountains or come right out of the sky. And it's like amazing. And the leader wanted to use it in a negative way, but the dragons were like, we're not about that. So it was very beautiful book. I love that. The timelines. You would love it. It's called The Signet and the Firebird. And the Firebird, very dragon-like too. So
Yeah.
anyway, that one. And then, there's that whole Anna McCaffrey series called The
Oh,
Dragon Rider.
love them. Love
Yeah,
those. Yeah,
yeah. So,
so good. And
yeah. So how do we make
The
members?
Earthsea trilogy is really good. Have you read those? Yeah.
Yes, yes, a while
Mhm.
ago. A while
Yeah.
ago. Yeah. And then Dune, I don't know that worm he rode. I know it's sort of a dragon-like.
It
Yeah, the
is
dragon
kind of.
line.
Yeah. Um, Dune, I read that when I was a teenager, and it's so thick. It's like this big, And I got so annoyed with the length of the book. Like 30 pages from the end, I quit reading it. I was so
Oh,
irritated. I
no.
was like, I'm done reading this. So then I just
Yeah.
watched the movie later. Yeah, it was funny.
So yeah, dragons are in our imagination, How do we even know about dragons? It's definitely coming through. And so I have some cosmic dragon stories because in astrology, we have dragons. So one of the dragons, well, there's a pair of dragons, and they mark the places where the the orbit of the moon crosses the orbit of the sun,
Mm,
because they're not parallel. So they have these points on either side of the sky where the moon and the sun and the earth line up, and that's where we see eclipses.
yeah.
So these eclipse points are called the nodes of the moon, and they're also called the dragon head and the dragon tail. And in you may not be born near an eclipse, but the eclipses are like, of these dragons are activated, and it's the line of destiny. That's what it's called, because the dragon tail is where in your personal chart, a lot of like stuff comes through, impressions from past lives come through. And then the
Mm,
north node is the dragon head, is what you're doing here this lifetime. And
yeah.
those dragons were formed in a story. I don't remember the whole thing, but they were creating a bit of havoc. And I think it was Vishnu threw his discus and cut the dragon head off. And so, there are these stories about when there's an eclipse, like the dragon is eating the sun or the moon. And then because his head's cut off, he doesn't digest it. It comes back again. So
Oh,
so
that's
that's an old story about dragons.
so what I know about dragons is that they were from another universe and they busted through into this universe and or the universe that we're used to because we've been in more than one because we have the multiverse, right? But anyway, they busted in, and that's where some of the not nice beings came from. They were like spin-off
Mm,
of the DNA from the dragons, and the dragons were very um appalled that that happened. Like they were not happy that that happened. And the ones that I'll say, were probably their most, I don't know what you would want to call them, but the Draco were the ones that they really were the most unhappy about. Um, but dragons in general, they've always been like wise. They don't necessarily want to assist. They're like a cranky old man a lot of times. Um, and they have all their stuff, that they've been collecting. So if you think about like the old man next door, he may have all this wisdom and he has like stuff is just almost popping out of his cupboards because he has so much. But he doesn't necessarily share it all the time because it's bothersome or annoying. He doesn't think it's going to be like taken well, but sometimes they share and it's like amazing.
mm,
So,
mm.
and I think the wood dragon is one of the most happy That's how he feels. He feels happy, he feels abundant, and he feels benevolent. And the dragons had to go through, because they've ascended, they had to go through their drama about hierarchy. So most of the dragons live to be about 10,000 years old, and they gained
Hmm,
all this
hmm,
knowledge in their physical being. And when they did that, they were like, well, I know the answer. Why don't you know the answer? You know, looking down on you. But I've had lifetimes with dragons, and they're really wonderful. Really wonderful. So they're just kind of misunderstood, I think, in a lot of ways. And their DNA was used to do other things with. It wasn't always great.
hmm, hmm, hmm,
So,
hmm.
um, but I'm looking forward to this. One thing that they are very good at too is being sovereign. So I think,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
humanity is going to be more sovereign this year.
Well, I think the dragon's a lot about willpower and I don't know if I want to say leadership capacity, but having a really strong energy.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they lust for power, but that's not, the only thing. And the Earth Dragon, Chinese astrology isn't my forte, but I was looking up a little stuff about the wood. Wood is one of the elements, and it feels so earthy. And, it
Mm-hmm.
just brings to mind all those carved wooden dragons you see, mainly in the East. So the wood dragon is a lot about beginnings, about envisioning, and about like a springtime energy.
Yeah,
So I like that, the envisioning part, because isn't that what we are really doing this year? We really need to be envisioning in a very strong way that can manifest, and the Earth Dragon is going to help us manifest.
exactly. I would say,
Yeah.
if you can, to spend a little bit of time every day manifesting what you want. And one of those
Mm,
things that I've been, just sitting with and imagining has already happened and just feeling it in my body is that everybody
mm,
has had access to their straw and their man account, and that everybody is abundant now.
mm.
So there's something in the works going on with that. And just to start imagining that you don't have to work anymore. You get to do the thing that you love and you share it, and that becomes your job because you create it, and you don't necessarily have to do it the same kind of hours that you work
Right.
with your other job.
Right. It's not natural. So,
No.
yeah, I've been asking, this is one of the questions I ask a lot when I'm doing readings is, what would you be doing if money weren't an issue? And people they don't know what to say because we're so used to thinking in limitations that way.
Mhm.
And we need to go beyond that. We need to kind of bust through that, that glass ceiling, so to speak, and really claim that. And that's to me, that's a Venus question. And she's the goddess of beauty, aesthetics, love, joy, and happiness.
Yeah.
Native Americans talk about walking the beauty path. And it involves happiness and joy and peace and confidence. And so that's the beauty path. And it isn't easy to follow because it really has I don't know, strict moral code. You have to be in your integrity and your authenticity.
Yeah.
So what would you be doing if money weren't an issue that you love doing and this is your thing? So I love that really feels like it's coming. This could be the year, right? With the year of the
Oh
dragon.
yeah, we could definitely bring that in this year. It's really up to us to bring that in, and the higher parallels, they'll bring it in this year, and then all the other ones will start to rise more and more. um there's something that I wanted to say, so you go ahead though, because there's something else sorry.
That's good.
So the elements that you brought up, my dad would talk about them all the time. So you have fire, earth, water,
Air.
No, metal's in there somewhere. Where did metal go?
Oh,
Fire,
metal. Yeah, right.
fire, earth,
Metal.
metal, water, and wood, right?
Yeah, that's the Chinese elements. Yeah.
Yeah. So wood is the last element. Wood is what is made out of all those elements. Wood is life springing forth. So that's what this dragon represents. Is this
Oh,
dragon is the tree of life coming, you know? So it's beautiful how all the synchronicities come right together because we are creating our own reality. And that's actually my element is wood. Um, it's not according to Chinese stuff, but it is according to like how I operate. And that's what my dad said, you're wood.
uh-huh.
So it's just really fun to be creative because that's when everything culminates together is wood. So we are
Mm,
in it. We're in the creativity and enjoy your own creativity this year.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That the life force expressing itself from a very deep place in you.
Mm-hmm.
That is why you're here. So, so I was talking about the dragon head and the dragon tail that mark the eclipses.
Right.
And there are these long eclipse cycles called the Saros cycle. And it's these different eclipse, almost like families that last over 13, like more than 1,000 years. And there'll be an eclipse family. They'll start at either the South Pole or the North Pole. And over time, because the eclipse points come back around every 19 years.
Mm-hmm.
So your destiny line in your chart resets every 19 years. That's one thing that means. And every 19 years, there's going to be the same sign eclipse. Now we'll talk about the solar eclipses here because they're the strongest ones and the rarest ones to have a total solar eclipse. So they'll start at the North Pole and then it'll wind around heading south over 1,000 years. It'll end at the South Pole. There can be ones that start at the South Pole and wind around over that period of time. And each one is its own particular Saros number. This has been really hard for me to grasp, I got to say. So there's a Serbian astrologer,
Mm-hmm.
Alexander Imsaragic, who has made a beautiful book about the dragon families based on the different Saros cycles. And he's named the each one a dragon, and there are these different dragons that are connected to the eclipses, and you would have been born in a certain eclipse cycle,
Mm-hmm.
and so you have you're a member of a certain dragon family, and it's based on they're connected to different planets in
Yep.
a way, and they also can be male or female depending on the number of eclipses in any particular cycle. Sometimes there's an even number, sometimes there's an odd number, and he makes that the male or female. So I wanted to give you an example of some of these dragons because they're very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on when the solar eclipse, when a total solar eclipse, I don't think it has to be total, a solar eclipse before your birthday. A lot of astrologers use the pre-birth eclipse. And this is kind of what we're talking about here, that you're born in that time frame of that dragon. So, for instance, like I'm a magic dragon. I loved that. That I have the magic dragon that's connected to Mercury and the use of words. And that really fits me. So, that's connected to Mercury and learning and all of that. So, and I'm a writer, and so I've got that one. And there are other kinds of dragons. There's like the water dragon, there's
Mhm.
the moon dragon, there is the eternity dragon, there is the karma dragon. And the karma
Mhm.
dragon has an association with the core dragon that's connected to the planet Mars. And the core dragon has an energy thread that is in charge of initiating every karma. The karma dragon sustains that karma through a period of time so it's completed. But the core dragon is like the primary energy, which creates the seed. So the core dragon is the primary energy for the creation of the cause. And the karma, that's the head of the dragon. And then the karma dragon that keeps it going is the tail of the dragon that plays that out.
Nice.
So besides the power of grounding and the exceptional ability to act and create new karma that gives birth to new timelines, the core dragon is a person, if you're in that family, you're a person who can change the destiny of many people and create new, healthier pathways and timelines for all.
Mhm.
You like that one?
Yeah, love it.
It
Love it.
sounded kind of like you to me with you're so keen on timelines and so aware of and tuning into, and how you
Mhm.
kind of have this spiral of connectivity that to me sounds so like those spiral pathways of the eclipse cycles.
Yeah. So my
um
53 years would fit into that then, I'm assuming.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, and it's connected to the planet Mars, which is
Yeah.
about action and energy. So
Mhm.
and desire.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've always gone forward. Like, let's just get it. Let's just do it. I don't think about it too much. If it feels right, then I just want to do it, you know.
yeah.
Um, and in shopping, that comes through as the expressionist who buys everything. Like, who's like, oh yes, I love it. Let's get it, and then you're like, what did I get this for?
Give it to
you know?
somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just really interesting how those things play out in your personality. Um, but I think a lot of people that are like out in front of other people, as far as like they're speaking out in front of other people.
Mm.
They have to feel like, yes, they can go forward, and that needs to be part of their energy, really. But the lifetimes that I remember with dragons are quite fun. Even though I rode in one's pocket, he had like a skin pocket, up by his chest. That wasn't very
Like
fun.
a kangaroo.
Yeah. And I was the king in that. And it was very deserty. It was all red sand. And I was going to be the person who married him, the dragon that was like my friend and part of our clan, to another dragon who was a beautiful white dragon. It was so the clans could come together. So this was back when you got arranged marriages and stuff. And I don't know what planet this was, but it was such a trip to be in that lifetime. So it was a lot of fun. And people lived very long because in that lifetime, I lived to be like 1,000 years old. And I could
Well,
see, yeah.
one of the eclipse families is over like an average of 1,300 years.
Yeah, so that makes me wonder about the 13th sign. There's
Oh.
another constellation that has been kind of left behind. And I think as we go through this, the clock is going to start to change because astrology has always been the
Yeah.
clock. So the
Yeah.
clock is going to start to shift. And remember those watches that had like the sun and the moon and the stars on them?
Oh,
Yeah, I
yes.
just used to love those. And it makes me think of that's going to shift, it's going to look different. And we're not going to be so focused on what's coming. We're going to be focused on, oh, what's happening right now, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
So,
the 13th constellation is Ophiuchus, which is the serpent
mm,
charmer. And he's a big
um,
naked man standing on the galactic center. Well, actually standing on the red star that marks the heart of the scorpion.
mhm,
And he's like he's got a serpent wrapped around his body. And so the serpent, it's like a double constellation of the serpent and the man. And he's in the Milky Way. He's riding on the river of the Milky Way, like he's surfing. And he's holding this like this, I was going to say dragon, which we could make it into that, but it's like the
yeah,
serpent energy. And so he's a healer. And the birthday, it's between Scorpio and Capricorn. So it's part of Sagittarius, it's part of Scorpio.
yeah,
And I'm an Ophiuchian. I'm born December 7th, and I'm an Ophiuchian. So I tune into that constellation.
yeah,
Um, and it's actually got a big chunk, a couple of weeks of birthdays there. Sometime in if you're late Scorpio or early Sagittarian, you're really an Ophiuchian.
yeah.
Um,
So that's really
yeah.
exciting because I feel like that will be brought forward.
Well, we need more than the 12 we have. And
Yeah.
if we follow the sun's path, it does tap into other constellations. It's
Mhm,
much more of a dance than we look at.
yeah.
But when you're talking about being in the now energy, um, uh, I want to look forward to the eclipse that we're having this year, a
Yeah.
total solar eclipse on April 8th. So that's going to start a new dragon family energy. And that is well, it's not going to start a new dragon family. It's going to activate a new dragon family. And that is the sun dragon. So the sun dragon is the like father of the dragons. This is the
Oh,
strongest of the dragons.
uh-huh.
Um, so it's like the sun energy empowers life. So this dragon energy has exceptional willpower and is kind of a rulership energy. It's just think of the brightness of the sun and the life force of the sun. It's that kind of dragon. So we
Yeah.
have that dragon on the April 8th eclipse activated.
That feels
And
like sovereignty. Time for
it does,
people to
it does.
embody their
Yeah.
own sovereignty. Yeah.
It said that when this dragon is awakened, because you have to awaken your dragon energy in
Yeah.
order to control it so it doesn't control you, you want to be riding the head of the dragon. You don't be wanting to ride on the tail.
No.
So when you awaken the dragon, the sun dragon becomes a leader, and it's like a huge energy that is forwarding the life force like the sun does, and it supports and empowers other people, and they're who look to that sun dragon to awaken its own energy,
Yeah.
whatever kind of dragon you are. So it's like the father of the dragons. So that's interesting that we're coming into that. And there's one more little note to put on that, the energy of that particular eclipse, which it's exactly precisely that eclipse is aligned with Chiron, which is this odd little body in the solar system named for the shaman, this teacher healer. It's like your vision quest in life. As you're on
Mhm.
your path of healing and wholeness, you find how you can help other people. and it's holistically aligned from spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. And when that you're in alignment there, magic happens. Synchronicity strikes again. So that eclipse is a sun dragon with that be here now, be in the moment, capital N, capital O, capital W energy.
Yeah, that feels big.
It's really
So,
big.
yeah, we could
Mm.
see major changes at that point. I think we're going to see a lot of stuff leading up to that point, and don't wait for that point. We can have it
You're
happen
right.
sooner. Yeah.
Yeah, that point, it's at 19 degrees, 24 minutes Aries. And so that got activated last summer.
Mhm.
It's getting activated this month on February 19th when Chiron lines up with the dragon head. So that is a big, whatever's going on then, that is a real clue. And then we get to that eclipse on April 8th. So yeah,
10
we've
days.
been in this. It's like the timeline is like, you know, uh it's like any of these eclipse families can time travel
Mhm.
back to that same kind of eclipse, be it 100 years ago or a couple of 100 years from now. Because some of these eclipse cycles, like the one that is that eclipse, that dragon family, the sun dragon family of this particular eclipse cycle started in 1501 and it lasts until 2763. So it's a pretty young, kind of dragon cycle here. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just, there's so many large cycles to consider that it's hard to grasp them all. But the
Yeah.
celestial choreography is astounding lately. Yeah.
It is astounding. It's kind of like it's almost created for this time.
Yeah. Yeah, I like
And
that. So
yeah,
true.
it feels like that to me. The serendipity is so strong right now. And think about who is the sun dragon in our world. Who do you see as the sun dragon? And that gets activated on the 19th, right? Is that what you were saying?
That's when the dragon head is aligned with Chiron, that's the factor. So it's an
Mhm.
activation of that be here now energy, and it stays there for several days. It's still there on the full moon on February 24th.
Yeah,
So
it's a
so yeah,
massive month.
yeah.
Massive.
And this month, last time we talked about Pluto, entering Aquarius, and this is the new moon in Aquarius. And we have Mercury in Aquarius now, activated by Pluto. And that was a few days ago. That was, where are my notes? That was on the 5th of February. And then we have Mars going into Aquarius on the 13th and getting activated by Pluto. Like it's almost like a Pluto initiation. It's like empowering that energy, and you're experiencing that in your own personal way. These are planets that are really close to the Earth, so they have a strong personal influence. So this is a very this activation. So Pluto, Mars, whoa, that's powerful. That is
Yeah.
almost militant, and let's make it a positive way. And then Venus goes into Aquarius on the 16th and is also, kind of empowered. This is the love energy. We want to empower. Pluto is, as we said, where you claim your power or you give it away. So you are being really asked, and this is like part of the collective and part of that wood dragon envisioning of where we want to be heading and who we're heading there with. Who are we lining up with,
Mhm.
to bring forth, various visions. We need a lot of dragon family people, on this ride with us. So And then Mars and Venus get together. The male and female energy align on the 21st second of February, when we're still in that zone of the dragon head Chiron, the shaman energy, aligning the spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical, and creating this more of the serendipity as a weaving of what of the world we're moving into.
Yeah.
But you have
It's
to claim it.
we have to claim it. Totally agree with you. We have to claim it. So if you have any way to dig into your inner self, go inside and work on your limiting beliefs. And I have lots of
Mm,
ways that I have published, but do that now. Anything that's in the way of abundance, anything that's in the way of you seeing yourself doing what you love as
yes.
your daily life, those kind of things, start getting rid of or neutralizing those limiting beliefs right now. I think that would
Mm-hmm.
help
Mm-hmm.
tremendously in our
Mm-hmm.
forward motion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's actually a date that might activate that very lesson in our lives, and that's in March. That's right around equinox. That may be, what we're confronted with, because, Aries starts in March,
Yeah.
and that's like the spring new year. So that's not everybody's new year, obviously, because today, right, with this new moon in Aquarius, is the Chinese New Year. And there are other new years that people have too. So this is it's not, there's just not one timeline. Right.
No. And we're creating it as we go, but the faster we let go of the stuff that's, because I think the fear of the unknown or
Yeah.
the lack of knowing where we're going is a little bit disconcerting.
Yeah.
So letting go of anything that's holding you back, and also starting to imagine what you want your life to look like, is really
Absolutely.
going to help you know where you're going. And then the collective will create their own platform, because we're creating a new society. So corporations and governments are going to go, they're going. And I don't know, last 2 weeks ago, church was on the table. Like, it was just being
Mm,
bombarded with truths coming out about church. And
mm,
the actual structure of it, because you can talk to
mm,
God source whenever you want to. You don't need a building. So all that stuff was happening, and now we've got government and corporations, because they've been working together, governments and corporations, to do a lot of the stuff that has been not good for humanity. So they're on the
mm.
table for crumble. So anything that's
Yeah,
in the way of that,
absolutely.
we want to go ahead and, yeah.
Yeah, part of the letting go energy is the dragon tail. And the
Mhm.
dragon tail right now is in Libra, which is about relationship and balance and justice, and, kind of, so part of it is balancing out your karma with anybody in your life, and, kind of getting that out of the way. And part of it is the tendency that Libra has is to accommodate other people for the sake of harmony. And you cannot do that now. It is so important to be in your clarity, stand your ground, and then relate from that point.
Mhm.
So that is part of what, if we're listening to somebody else's opinion, for instance, that's not, that's what you need to let go of. It's finding it in yourself and believing in yourself, and that's a pretty radical, kind of trust of oneself. And we get there more, maybe sooner, and maybe more truly, when we are really in our hearts. And whatever means you have of kind of quieting your mind and kind of just softening the rapid thought forms, and just feeling your energy and feeling your breathing, there's these ways to quiet yourself. And
Mhm.
this Chiron energy I mentioned, this teacher healer energy, sometimes it points out from some kind of symptom in the body where that energy isn't lined up, where there's some static. And it's never just a physical issue, it's on some other level.
Mhm.
This is it, Chiron is in fire now. So this could be on a spiritual level. Something is not in alignment,
Yeah.
or a confidence level, also, you know.
Yeah, confidence level, I think, is what we're switching. We're letting go of listening to the outside and starting to listen to the inside. And it's the tools to do that that are really important, and also the love that you have within your heart for yourself,
Yes.
because you're the
Yes.
most important being right now
Well, the most
in your
important
life.
relationship
Yeah.
you have in your life is with yourself.
Yeah.
And that's not being selfish. It's like, who am I? It's like, what am I about? And to really come to know yourself beyond what other people told you, like really early on, or beyond old definitions or self-identities that we carry into this lifetime too, which can inform us and help, kind of broaden our sense of who we are. Um, so it's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing.
Yeah. And letting go of those old feelings. I watched somebody do a somatic exercise, and he was having assistance. And this is, men are now going through a lot of their purge, and
Mm,
they're like working out their old feelings. And this guy was like, it was so intense, the emotion that was coming out of him, and he was letting it come out. But if you think about how men have been suppressed emotionally, they've got a lot that needs to come out, and they need to be free to be themselves as well.
beautiful.
So
Yes.
there's
Yes. A lot of
so
the
much.
emotional responsibility gets put on women,
Yeah.
and then they get blamed, but they get dumped on, so they have to handle all of that. That's a lot. And
Yeah.
that's part of this, you're filled with other people's energy or feeling, or, so how do we get clear on, our own, like, stance, but our own kind of capital S self. I guess that's another way to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's all about going inside and clearing things out. So now is the time to really do that, because it's time for
Mm,
us to be sovereign. And that doesn't mean my way or the highway. That means
yeah.
this feels good to me, or that doesn't feel good to me. So I won't be doing that, but I will be doing what feels good to me and what is in my highest good, and standing firm with that. Like, it's time to
Yeah.
be firm about your own well-being.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, for sure. Like, how do you make choices in your life?
Mhm.
Often we talk to other people, what do you think? What do you think? And no, it's what do you think?
Yeah.
So that's a thing. Um, So I have another cosmic dragon story that I think is really relevant for this time, considering like what's going on in certain parts of the world.
Yeah.
Is there's there's a old Vedic god, one of the original Vedic gods, Varuna, and there's now an astronomical object named Varuna out in the far solar system, and it's very activated right now. And Varuna is the god of cosmic law and universal order.
Mm,
And he rides, he's also the god of waters. I think he used to be a god of the sky, but now he's considered the god of cosmic waters, all the waters. And so he also can look through every star in the sky like it's his eye and see what's going on all around the world. And if somebody's breaking the cosmic law, he takes this serpent and he uses it at a lasso, and he brings the guy in and says, "Hey, you're breaking the law. Shape up." But there was a dragon, and this dragon started drinking all the water. It must have been a fire dragon. It
Yeah.
must have been a fire dragon. It was getting really thirsty and hot, started drinking up all the water, all the seas, all the lakes, all the rivers, all the rain. So there was a drought.
Mm.
And Varuna couldn't lasso the dragon in. And the dragon was getting bigger and bigger because he had all this water inside him. So Varuna called on his grandson, Indra, who had lightning bolts, and threw a lightning bolt on the dragon, and all the waters came pouring out. And so there's so many floods all over the world now. I'm wondering how this story, relates to that,
Mhm.
it had to happen. Things had to, like, kind of break open, I guess, in a way we could say.
They do. And part of it, so if you consider the dragon kind of the old deletes kind of attitude,
Hmm.
they were creating drought within where we've been living. So they've been creating deserts because deserts aren't natural.
Yeah.
So all of those places had lush green,
Yeah.
spaces there. There wasn't a whole lot of sandy desert. So that's
Yeah.
going to go away. Like when I was talking to my soul or my higher self, and I'm interchanging those words now because I'm using the word soul in a lot of my teaching because that's who your
Mm.
higher self is. But as you
Mm.
talk to your higher
Mm-hmm.
self, um mine has been telling me the natural order is temperate. So we're basically in a terrarium created by the firmament, which we used to have a dome and now the dome is gone. So now we have the waters above. And the waters above are keeping us in this temperate climate. And the earth is like volatile a little bit right now because she's clearing energy. And so
Yeah.
is the white hats are trying to like stabilize. And I don't really feel like they're having a whole lot of success because the manipulation isn't working as well as it used to.
Ooh. Hmm.
So the biblical stuff is happening because the dome is gone. So we're going to
Hmm.
become more and more temperate. That's why flowers are blooming all over the world in the middle of winter.
So what about certain animals that live in really cold climates, like
Um,
penguins or polar bears, or even the way birds migrate, or the certain things grow need the cold.
a
what
lot
what
of
about
stuff's
that,
going
do you
to
think?
adjust. So, you
Hmm.
know how like reindeer will have a winter coat and a summer coat. So eventually they just won't get their winter coat. This is not going to happen overnight, but it's going to be kind of a adjustment period. If you think about it, even trees that lose their leaves won't be losing their leaves anymore. Because, and this is in the US, but 50 degrees is going to be the low, and
Whoa,
74 is what I kept getting as the high.
that's my kind of climate.
Yeah.
That.
Well, and I think that's
Yeah.
more natural.
Yes,
So,
it is.
yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, I'm in Vermont. We're getting nights in the teens, and we can get down to 45 below. And I know other places can be colder.
yeah.
And we might miss the colored leaves in the fall, but it's also, we don't get a lot of sun. More than half the days of the year there's no sun. And I really am missing the sun. Yeah.
It's hard because your body needs that to get your vitamin D. And that's a hormone and it makes you happy. It makes you healthy. And I don't think we're going to have nearly as much darkness either. So a lot of stuff is kind of slowly working itself through. and we'll just see how it ends up. But I always got, once they stopped messing with the weather, it would be 2 years before we had stability
Oh,
and
are you
like
gonna, are
the
you calling this like
temperature.
things that things are evening out in a kind of way, so we won't have
Yeah,
extreme?
yep.
Uh-huh.
We're not supposed to
Is
have
that
extremes.
is that because, the poles shifted and we have, this
Well, the
odd
poles aren't
angle?
really in the,
Oh,
I mean, that was kind of a lie. The poles were the poles, the magnetic poles within the dome. So the Earth is much bigger, and there was a magnetic
yes.
shift. There was a magnetic shift,
Mhm.
but I don't think we'll totally grasp how it worked until all the old history is brought out for us,
Mm-hmm.
until, and
Mm-hmm.
also we're going to get to go explore. So I think we'll go beyond the ice wall where that has been first, and then eventually out into the world, to see the rest of the earth.
When
So,
I first heard about that, it reminded me of the way in Tolkien's story the elves sail out to the west and beyond into lands beyond.
hmm, yeah. Well, and if you think about it, the eye was Saruman, and when you were talking about the dragons, and that looked like a dragon eye to me.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
so there's a whole lot of stuff all intertwined in there. Um, and I get that there is parts of inner Earth that are inhabited. So we've got a whole new world, and there's layers upon layers of densities right on top of each other, too. So it's our vibration that's going to raise us into where we want to be. So the more
Yeah,
things that you let go of, the better.
yes, yes, like
Yeah.
those beliefs. It's like, I'm willing to believe almost anything these days, and some things really resonate. And I think the open-mindedness is going to get more expansive by, like, say, the end of May. And that's gonna,
Mm,
it's gonna be somewhat easier for us to be entertaining different points of view or different ideas. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. It's going to be an amazing year. And a lot of stuff will crumble this year that we are done with. And the new stuff will get started that we've been dreaming about and creating in our own minds. And there has been a lot of creativity actually happening too. So people that are
Mhm.
doing their humanitarian projects, maybe they're just doing them online like I am, or maybe they're doing them like in person. I have somebody in one of my groups that's already got a building and they're creating things, so just going forward with whatever is inside of you that you're being like sparked by, that's so important right now because we're being shown the way to go. Yeah.
Yes. And your willingness to let go. And, this month it's really down home and personal. And so some of this is like again, the empowerment or the disempowerment, that there's the claiming it. And that eclipse in April, and then we have another major astrology event that in April on the 20th, that is a rare alignment of Jupiter expansion and Uranus change. Now, this new moon we're having right now has a very strong Uranus activation, which is expect the unexpected. Like, how
Yeah.
did this happen? Surprise, out of the blue, shock and awe, and it's part of the whole moon cycle that we have. And then in April, we get Jupiter and Uranus, which is big global change in that I think has to do with the financial system for sure.
Yeah,
However it might be happening at this point, that's going to be a big moment in, world changing moment. Yeah.
it is. I know the astral plane last night was all about governments and corporations, and I could, like, what I was seeing, because for a long time I had no dreams, And now I have dreams that last like the whole night sometimes, and they're
Hmm.
different segments of a dream. And I know it's because I'm working up there, but it was all about corporate stuff and all the energies behind it and the stuff that had to be cleared. And it just went on and on and on. I woke up and I was like, oh, yucky. But we have to get down in the muck and clear it for this, to go forward. So that's why we've had to do shadow work and all this kind of stuff. So now we're doing it for the collective.
Yeah, and think of how many people are literally doing that, having a lot of floods and,
Mhm.
dirt in the basement. Vermont had big flooding last summer, but places
Yeah.
all over the world, it's like they're having to clean up this muck from flooding
Yeah.
and get down there and yucky. And, why did I have all this stuff? Get rid of it now, kind of thing.
Yeah.
We don't want to, just have too much burden, and stuff can be burdensome.
It really can. It can be overwhelming, really.
Mm.
And honestly, like going to the Rock and Gem show was so amazing. But after a while, I was overwhelmed by all the energy of all the
Yeah.
stones. And I was like, ah, and the three of us girls were like, let's go. We didn't see most of this tent, but let's go. We need to go and like just let go of all that energy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I had a friend who used to go every year as a buyer, and she was there for like 3 days. So,
Oh,
yeah.
I can't imagine. So it was beautiful. And I probably would do smaller ones from now on for myself. And that's because I'm so
Hmm.
sensitive to the energy, you know.
Hmm.
Um, but some of the stones, they were so sad. Like people only cared about like the money part of it. And you knew that they weren't tapped in at all. And then some of the stones were really happy and they were enjoying the people that they were with. So it was a
Hmm.
interesting thing.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So,
beautiful. Such light. Woo! The light of crystals.
oh yeah.
Wow.
They're such amazing beings, really, you know. And you can tell, like, if you get one in the mail, because I'm always getting like, here's another rock, and you can tell if it's not happy.
And what do you do to help make it
I
happier?
usually put them in the plants if
Oh.
they're not happy, you know,
Hmm.
because I feel like them being next to something that's also alive,
Hmm.
is good. Um, it's almost like they need an incubation period or something.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's interesting. This was beautiful. Is
Yeah.
there anything else that you wanted to talk about? I'm trying to look at our notes.
Um, I think that might be enough. I mean, the eclipse dragons, the dragon families, and the long cycles, what
Mhm.
memory. And the powerful one coming up that's really quite a change, like a catalyst for change. And you've talked about this like solar flash for a long time, and that it's sort of we've been in a long one, an
Yeah,
extended, it's a little more gentle. And I'm interested to see what this one will come to, because and I'm having people say, well, what do you think is going to happen? And I'm not willing to say, because I really don't know if it's an in the moment energy, as powerfully as we can be in the moment from now until then.
yeah.
That's that's more the strategy
It
to
really
engage.
is because we can't look at different dates anymore. We need to do it now. And
Yes,
that energy's already here.
yes,
Yeah. So
yes,
it's so good. So good what's
yes.
happening. Yeah.
So exciting. And this is a very exciting moon. We've got the wood dragon, the green wood dragon. This is
Yes.
stuff that's happening, and be engaged with that. Be
Hmm.
engaged with it. Be part of that creativity, your vision,
Yeah.
your vision. Mhm.
Do your own magic right now.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to have Kelley's information below. So if you want to get in contact with her, do so. She's amazing, obviously. You guys can all tell. So, um, I just have so
I've
much
lived
fun.
long enough.
Yeah, I have so much fun talking to you about this stuff because there's so much knowledge, and also you're willing to massage things a little bit too, because I feel like that's what's happening. We're coming into having to see things from different points of view. And it's important to have the knowledge, but also to be able to zoom out and look, because there's so much in play right now. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
to find your lane where your energy is leading you. You don't have to engage everything. You don't have to be informed about everything. You don't have to you just pick your lane and be clear with that.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Kelley.
Oh, thank you. I enjoy our talks
That
too.
was so fun. Okay. Bye, everybody.